All right. Now we're doing MDN Web Docs Guides, HTML, Introduction to HTML, HTML Text Fundamentals. All right. So this one's a long one. Again, as usual, go get you a snack. Take a nap before you start this because this is going to be boring. But we're learning stuff, aren't we? So let's go. So one of HTML's main jobs is to give text structures so that a browser can display an HTML document the way its developer intends. This article explains the way HTML can be used to structure a page of text by adding headings and paragraphs, emphasizing words, creating lists, and more. All right. So for the prerequisites, basic HTML familiarity, as covered by the Getting Started with HTML, so 2 videos ago. Also learn how to, the objective is to learn how to mark up a basic page of text and give it structure and meaning, including paragraphs, headings, lists, emphasis, and quotations. All right. So the basics, headings and paragraphs. Most structured text consists of headings and paragraphs, whether we are reading a story, a newspaper, a college textbook, a magazine, etc. So you see this would be the H1 right here, the main heading. These are the H2s, H3s right here. Maybe this is the title. No, that's the H1. H3s, these are the paragraphs. These are bolded. And then H4 right there. So that's what we would go by on all that stuff. If we needed to, we could make this whole thing show up like this using CSS and HTML. Anyway, whatever. Structured content makes the reading experience easier and more enjoyable. In HTML, each paragraph has to be wrapped in a P element like so. We already know that. Each heading has to be wrapped into H1. We know that. 6 headings. We know that. What year is this? We know all this stuff. We've been doing this. But if you don't, there's 6 heading elements. Pardon me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. H. You know what I'm saying. You can see it. Each element represents a different level of content in the document. H1 represents the main heading. H2 represents subheadings. H3, blah, 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 blah. So implementing a structural hierarchy. For example, in this story, the H1 element represents the title of the story. The H2 represents the title of each chapter. H3 represents subsections of each chapter. So here's the, anyway, I don't want to read any of that nerd stuff. So anyway, you pretty much, hopefully you get how it goes. If not, we've got more. There's plenty more page where that came from. It's really up to us what the elements involved represent, as long as the hierarchy makes sense. We just need to bear in mind a few best practices as we create such structures. So preferably, we should use only one single H1 per page, and this is the top level heading, and all others sit below this in the hierarchy. Make sure that we use the headings in the correct order in the hierarchy. Don't use an H3 element to represent subheadings followed by H2 elements to represent sub-subheadings. That doesn't make sense and will lead to weird results. Of the 6 heading levels available, we should aim to use no more than 3 per page unless we feel it's necessary. Documents with many levels, for example, a deep heading hierarchy, never heard of it, become unwieldy and difficult to navigate. On such occasions, it is advisable to spread the content over multiple pages if possible. Okay. Why do we need structure? Give me just a second. So why do we need structure? To answer this question, let's take a look at text.starthtml. All right, let's do that. Open it up. Okay, so we've got this hummus thing going on right here. Let's take this and put it in a brand new doc. Let's do a control A for everything, Control C, and let's come over here, open a new one, and call it hummus. File, new file, hummus.html. All right, and let's bring it up to the next one. And because this is just going to be like a one-shot, let's just make a new folder and call it one-shots. One-shots. All right. Pardon me. Let's open that and let's save it right there. Right. You can call it whatever, hummus or what. You know how this game goes. All right. So we already copied it, I think, and let's put it right there. Do a Control S. Let's open this thing in the File Explorer. All right. So now we got this, and it looks like terrible. All right. I guess that's what we're going for. This is a learning experience after all. All right, so to answer this question, let's take a look at what we just got. The starting point for our running example for this article. A nice hummus recipe. All right. So we should save a copy of this file on our local machine as we'll need it for the exercises later on. This document's body currently contains multiple pieces of content. They aren't marked up in any way, but they are separated with line breaks, okay? So as we can see right here, it's separated so we can we'll at least be able to put H1s around it without having to guess too much, all right? However, when we open the document in the browser, it looks crazy like this. And it does. All right. That's because there are no elements to give it the content structure. So the browser does not know what is a heading and what is a paragraph. Furthermore, users looking at a web page tend to scan quickly to find relevant content, often just reading the headlines to begin with. We usually spend a very short time on a web page. This probably says like 5 seconds or something. Anyway, if they can't see anything useful within a few seconds, they'll likely get frustrated and go somewhere else. I've done that. I'm sure you have too. Search engines indexing our page consider the contents of headings as important keywords for influencing the page's search rankings. Without headings, our page will perform poorly in terms of SEO, search engine optimization. That means why even have a website if nobody's going to search, if nobody's going to find you on the search engine? Severely visually impaired people, so blind people, often don't read web pages. They listen to them instead. This is done with software called a screen reader. This software provides ways to get fast access to given text content. Among the various techniques used, they provide an outline of the document by reading out the headings, allowing their users to find the information they need quickly. Okay? If headings are not available, they will be forced to listen to the whole document read out loud, and that's not cool. So let's hook our sight impaired people up. How about that? Pardon me. To style content with CSS or make it do interesting things with JavaScript, we need to have elements wrapping the relevant content so CSS JavaScript can effectively target it. Okay. Therefore, we need to give our content structural markup. All right. Awesome. So active learning, giving our content structure. Let's jump straight in with a live example. In the example below, we're going to add elements to the raw text in the input field so that it appears as a heading and 2 paragraphs in the output field. Should we make a mistake, we can always reset it using the reset button. If we get stuck, we can press the show solution button to see the answer. All right, so we're not doing anything like that. What did we want? We're going to appear as a heading and 2 paragraphs. My short story. Okay, so right here we'll do the H1. All right, and after story, H1. No, close H1. Like thus. And then, what did he say? 2 paragraphs? All right, so let's do a P. And then do an end and do another close P. Like thus. And then let's come down here. Do a home and say another P like this and come to the end and another P like thus. All right. Looks good. It looks good enough to me. For me. Whatever. Show solution. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, pretty much the same thing. They had to do it in a way to make us whatever. Anyway, same thing. Good. Why do we need semantics? Reset. Semantics are relied on everywhere around us. We rely on previous experience to tell us what the function of an everyday object is. When we see something, we know what its function will be most of the time. So, for example, we expect a red traffic light to mean stop and a green traffic light to mean go. Things can get tricky very quickly if the wrong semantics are applied. In a similar way, we need to make sure we are using the correct elements, giving our content the correct meaning, function, or appearance. In this context, the H1 element is also a semantic element, which gives the text it wraps around the role or meaning of a top-level heading on our page. Anyway, so here's a top-level heading. By default, the browser will give it a large font size to make it look like a heading, although we could style it to look like anything we wanted using CSS. You know, there are definitely limitations, but pretty much. More importantly, its semantic value will be used in multiple ways. For example, by search engines and screen readers, as mentioned above. On the other hand, we could make any element look like a top-level heading. Consider the following. This stuff right here is put inside a span and all this CSS with it right here. So this is a span element. It has no semantics. We use it to wrap content when we want to apply CSS to it or do something with it with JavaScript without giving it any extra meaning. We'll find out more about these later on in the course. Okay. We've applied some CSS to it to make it look like a top-level heading, but since it has no semantic value, it will not get any of the extra benefits described above. So it's a good idea to use the relevant HTML element for the job. Also, it's why do this when we could just say H1, right? I mean, come on now. But we could do that. We could do that, like those games where it's like the worst user experience ever kind of stuff. So here's lists. Now let's turn our attention to lists. Lists are everywhere in life, from our shopping list to the list of directions we subconsciously follow to get to our house every day, to the lists of instructions we are following in these tutorials. Lists are everywhere on the web too, and we've got 3 different types to worry about. Here's a list right here. And here's a list right here. So unordered lists are used to mark up lists of items for which the order of the items doesn't matter. So let's take a shopping list, for example, something like this. Every unordered list starts off with the UL element and wraps around the items like this. So UL in the front and at the end. And then the last step is to wrap each item in a LI, list item element. That's not the last step, honestly. Honestly, get real. The first step is to make the UL and the LIs first and then put these things in. Because this is, like you'll see in a second, this is incredibly hard to do it this totally backwards way. Don't do it like that. That's ridiculous. Do it, make the structure, then fill in the content, these characters. Why are you even teaching it this way, you character? Well, I'll show you in a second. So this is garbage right here. This is straight up garbage. We're going to do it right here because you can see it's active learning. So this is garbage. This isn't what we're supposed to do. Well, you can do it like that, but it's ridiculous. So first, let's do the unordered list, UL, like this, all right? And then close off the UL, like this. And then now inside the UL, we're going to put down here, I guess we got to do it like this since it's this thing and not the text editor. But inside here, we're going to say LI, like this, then close LI, like that. Then we're going to take the LIs, copy, paste, paste, paste. So now we've got 4 list items, and now we're going to pull each one of these into there. Let's do a Control X on them, but normally we'd have to type them instead. Now, if there is an easier way to do this without having to do it like this, I'd like to know, because then I'd feel like such a jerk. But until then, I feel like I'm doing you guys a favor. So let's take the milk, throw it right here. I didn't do Control X because I'm so used to Control C's, but it doesn't matter because we can just do this like that. And then you see there's this going on right here. So in my opinion, make the structure first, then fill it in, but do whatever you want. Ordered lists are lists in which the order of the items does matter. So let's take a set of directions as examples. So here's some directions right here. And the markup structure is the same as for the unordered list, except for we have to wrap the list items in an OL element rather than the UL. All right. So we're going to do it again. And again, let's do the OLs first. So OL, close OL. All right. Then we're going to put in there the list items. So LI, and then close LI. And then we'll take it, copy it, right here, paste it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. Let's bring this down, bring this down. How about that? And let's just take these and throw them in there. So let's take this, Control X, Control V. Take this, Control X, Control V. Take this, Control X, Control V. One more, no, 2 more. Control X, Control V, and one more, Control X, Control V. Let's get all this out of here. all the way to right here. That's good enough, and boom. So now it looks like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like we're looking for. Let's show the solution, exactly the same thing. All right, reset it, boom. Active learning, marking up our recipe page. So at this point in the article, we have all the information we need to mark up our recipe page example. We can choose either to save a local copy, which we already did, and do the work there, or do it in the editable example below. Doing it locally will probably be better, as then we'll be able to save the work that we're doing. Whereas if we fill it into the editable example, it will be lost next time we open the page. Both have pros and cons. I think this one has a lot of cons. Let's reset this because I already did it earlier. All right, so let's come on over here and look at this. All right, so now we're going to do the H1s and all this stuff. So this one here, first off, H1, all right, and it already makes it for us, so we just had to move this on in right here, and there we go. So this is a paragraph, P, all right, and take it all the way down to here, and then pull it into here, and then do a backspace, do a, a right arrow and then a backspace, and then it'll get it like that, and then push enter to put some space in between these two. Actually, anyway, whatever. Let's do it again, like thus. Grab it from here to here. Bring it into here, and then do a right arrow and a backspace, and then an end and an enter, and there we go. So this ingredients, let's make this an H2, right? H2. So now that should be, I'll just pop this, come on, huh? Just pop this in, come on now. All right, there we go. Can I do that? Yes, okay, I'm gonna try that next time. All right, so let's do that. Drop this in here. Now let's do an unordered list on this one. Let's say UL, like thus. And then let's do, how many do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 line items, 7 list items, LI. So get this, copy it, then 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, boom. So now triple click worked. Bring it up here. Oh my God. Come on. Stop it. Stop making this hard on me. Okay. Control X, Control V. Let's do it again. Control X, Control V. No, that was a Control C. No, that was a Control C again. Yeah, this stuff gets to be a pain real quick. That's why it's good to have this set up beforehand so that you don't have to go through all this rigmarole. Here we go, grab this, Control X, Control V, Control X, Control V, Control X, Control V, Control X, Control V, and then one more, Control, and then we got to do this one too. But whatever. I mean, I guess you guys can just fast forward also, no big deal. All right, so get rid of this, 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 get rid of this. All right, so now we got that going on. Now we got to do the same thing for this one. So let's do an H, not H1, H2. I'm glad I saw that. H2 on both of these. All right, let's do another H2 around this one. H2. All right, get the instructions. Pull it in here. All right. Oh, can we do this? Nope. All right, so another thing full of this. UL. All right, no, it's going to be an OL. So OL. And then inside of this, we'll do an LI like that. Take this and let's count these up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. So let's do this again. All right. Maybe this is good enough. That way we don't have to go back. All right. 2, 3, 4, 2 more, 5, 1 more, 1 more for this. We still got more to go. There we go. And now let's bring this stuff back up here so it's a little bit easier for us to read. We just done that and that. All right, so now we're going to do P right here. All right, let's take this whole thing. Oh my goodness. Come back over here. Drop it in here. Storage is going to be an H2 again. H2. Take this, throw it in here. All right, and then we're going to have 2 more P's. So here's one more P. And then another one right here. All right, so let's take this. I'm just going to take it like this. All right, and then like that. Go home, and then get this. Saving hummus for a couple of months, bro. I would eat it so fast. Anyway, so there's that. Let's go to the end of this one. Push enter. All right, so now that's readable. Looks good enough. Let's do a Control S. Let's open her up over here. And now it looks good enough. It looks good enough. We could do more stuff with CSS, but you already know that. So there's what it looked like, and there's what it looks like. All right. So let's come on back over here, and if we get stuck, blah, blah, blah. Nesting tips. So it's perfectly okay to nest one list inside another. We might want to have some sub-bullets sitting below a top-level bullet. So let's take a second list from our recipe example. So this right here. Since the last 2 bullets, these ones, if we want a coarse or if we want smooth, and since the last 2 bullets are very closely related to the one before them, they read like sub-instructions or choices that fit below that bullet. It might make sense to nest them inside their own unordered list and put that list inside the current 4th bullet. This would look like so. So it would look like this. So we're going to try going back to the previous activity to learn to see if we can do that. All right, so let's come on back over here. And we're going to put, let's fix this line item. All right, we're going to put these 2 inside of this one. We're going to make another unordered list right here. We'll say UL, like that. And then we'll just pop these 2 in there, like this. Just drag them up, throw them right there. Looks good. Let's bring this one back. And then if you hold down Alt and click this one down here, it gives us two thingamajigs, 2 cursors. So we can press tab 1, tab 2 times, and now it's where it needs to be. So let's do a Control S, and let's open it up again. All right. And so you see right here, process all the ingredients into a paste. If we want it chunky, do it short time. If we want it smooth, do it long time. All right. So it used to look like this, and it used to look like this. So now we're moving right along. We've got something a little bit better looking right there. All right. You don't need this. Actually, we'll keep that just in case. All right. So we got emphasis and importance. In human language, we often emphasize certain words to alter their meaning of a sentence, and we often want to mark certain words as important or different in some way. HTML provides various semantic elements to allow us to mark up textual content with such effects, and in this section, we'll look at a few of the most common ones. So emphasis, to start off with, when we want to add some emphasis in spoken language, we stress certain words, subtly altering the meaning of what we are saying. Similarly, in written language, we tend to stress words by putting them in italics. For example, the following 2 sentences have different meanings. I'm glad you weren't late, and for a sarcastic jerk, they would say, I'm glad you weren't late. Yeah, okay, guy. I can't stand sarcastic people for real. Like, you know, they're sarcastic like every sentence. I'm fluent in sarcasm. Anyway, the first sentence sounds genuinely relieved that the person wasn't late. Yes, in contrast, the second one, with both the words glad and late in italics, sounds sarcastic or passive-aggressive, expressing annoyance that that person arrived a bit late. All right? I mean, that might be a little hypocritical on me since I do it all the time in these videos, but I'm also not a millionaire. So does it give me an excuse? Nope, but I'll take it. In HTML, we use the em emphasis element to mark up such instances, as well as making the document more interesting to read. These are recognized by screen readers, which can be configured to speak them in a different tone of voice. Browsers style this as italic by default, but we shouldn't use this tag purely to get italic styling. To do that, we'll use a span element and some CSS or perhaps an I element. We'll see those below. So here's this, I am, and then emphasis glad you weren't late. Okay. So strong importance. Anyway, so to emphasize important words, we tend to stress them in spoken language and bold them when written, bold them in written language. For example, this liquid is highly toxic. I am counting on you. Do not be late. Okay. So in HTML, we use the strong importance element to mark up such instances, as well as making the document more useful. Again, these are recognized by screen readers, which can be configured to speak them in a different tone of voice. Browsers style this as bold text by default, but you shouldn't use this tag purely to get bold styling. To do that, we'd use a span element and some CSS, or perhaps a B element, see below. So yeah, right here we're going to have the strong around this highly toxic part, and then this strong around the do not right here. We can next strong emphasis inside one another, strong and emphasis inside one another if desired. This liquid is highly toxic. If you drink it, you may die. Okay. Active learning, let's be important. In this active learning section, we've provided an editable example. Inside it, we'd like you to try adding emphasis and strong importance to the words we think need them, just to have some practice, okay? So right here, I'm not even going to read this. This is the cringiest thing in the world. Let's just say, oh my God, I can't even do this. Let's just show the solution. Let's not even do that. Anyway, so yeah, add emphasis. This is a cringe fest right here. We're just going to skip it. Italic, bold, underline, all right? The elements we've discussed so far have clear-cut associated semantics. The situation with B, I, and U is somewhat more complicated. They came about so people could write bold, italics, or underlined text in an era when CSS was still supported poorly or not at all. Elements like this, which only affect presentation and not semantics, are known as presentational elements and should no longer be used because, as we've seen before, semantics is so important to accessibility, SEO, and I don't remember if there was anything else. I think it was just these, but whatever. HTML5 redefined B, I, and U with new, somewhat confusing semantic roles. So here's the best rule we can remember. It's only appropriate to use B, I, or U to convey a meaning traditionally conveyed with bold, italics, or underlined when there isn't a more suitable element. And there usually is one. Consider whether strong emphasis mark, we didn't even go over that one, or span might be more appropriate. Always keep an accessibility mindset. The concept of italics isn't very helpful to people using screen readers or to people using a writing system other than the Latin alphabet. Okay, so we use italics for foreign words, taxonomic designation, technical terms, and a thought. Okay, normal. B is used for bold stuff like keywords, product names, lead sentence. Lead sentence? I don't know what that means. U is conveyed to do something that's underlined, like a proper name, misspelling, whatever. People strongly associate underlining with hyperlinks. Therefore, on the web, it's best to only underline links. Use the U element when it's semantically appropriate, but consider using CSS to change the default underline to something more appropriate on the web. The example below illustrates how it can be done. All right, so here's this. It's for this taxonomic reference. Foreign words, so this word in this language, and then I don't know what this is, but yeah, so foreign words, known misspellings, so the underline on this one for spell, because that's not how you spell it, and then bold for when we Term being defined when used in a definition. Okay, so where's the lead sentence, bro? Where's that lead sentence you cool guys were talking about? Yeah, I've never heard of that. Anyway, whatever. So test to our skills. We're going to do this in the next video because it's going to be good for us. We've reached the end of this article where we can remember most, but can we remember the most important info? We can find some further tests to verify that we've retained this information before we move on. So we'll go to this for tomorrow's video. Anyway, so let's get back to this. So here's the summary. That's it for now. The article should have given us a good idea of how to start marking up text in HTML and introduce us to some of the most important elements in this area. There are a lot more semantic elements to cover in this area, and we'll look at a lot more in our advanced text formatting article later in the course, so like 2 days from now. In this next article, we'll be looking at the details of how to create hyperlinks, possibly the most important element on the web. So we'll do this in a couple days. We're going to do this one next. So next up is Test Our Skills HTML Text Basics, and we'll see you next time.